listen in the morning. Jimmy Lakey on the radio. I got my coffee and cream. Jimmy's on the air. Wake up and start your day. Now go and tell all the neighbors, yeah. Then crank up the radio. There's infotainment, brilliance to get you on your way. Wake up, start your day with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
Well, how you doing, everybody? I was hiding out behind that logo. I wanted to see if you could see me. I was camouflaged, a lot of red, white, and blue, and a blue shirt. I figured you wouldn't see me, but I guess you did. Welcome to the program. It's a tax day in America. If you're listening to us live, welcome. We're on several different streams right now. We're on the logging onto the Twitter machine this morning. Good morning, Instagram. How are you, little hipsters out there living in your mother's basement? I hope you're doing very well. Rumble. I'm good to see you. And if you're, let's see, Twitter, I'm at Facebook, several pages here. We're just spreading across all the platforms as quickly as we possibly can. Now, some of you are saying, well, I'm not watching you live. How are you watching? Because you're listening to the show in your ears and you're hearing the dulcet tones of Brother Lakey, and you're hearing me on our podcast platform. Brand new this week. We've launched it. Oh, by the way, Jim, good morning. Our Lois says we see everybody. See, they're commenting. Some of you listening to the podcast later in the day don't know that this show originates as a live streamcast bright and early on all the aforementioned platforms. And then as soon as the show is over, producer Chad works some magic and does some stuff. And in doing some stuff, he makes it populate out on a podcast platform called iHeartMedia, called Apple Podcast, I think Podbean, all the Spotify. We're out there. So if you're listening to the audio version of it only, you could watch the live version, or go back and watch the video version. But good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're listening to the program. If you haven't subscribed on all of the listening platforms, please go do so and look up just Jimmy Lakey Unleashed, and you will see me there. And we would love for you to, that way you'll never be separated from this glorious program that we do and we bring to you as the love of our heart and the kindness and the mental illness that we have, that we just keep doing it over and over again. So here we are. Listen to us, Lakey Unleashed, or Jimmy Lakey Unleashed, on all the podcast platforms. Make sure you like it and subscribe it. That's very key. If you like a podcast, don't go searching for it. Always like and subscribe it, or download it, have it automatically downloaded. It does that, puts it in your player. And first of all, it affects the algorithm, so that's good programming like this, if you think it's good, I hope. Then it lets it go to the top and percolate and circulate a little bit further. And if it also just helps us. We appreciate you doing that. So like, subscribe, download, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. Make sure you do all of the above. We appreciate it. All right, good to have you here. It's tax day in America. Everybody's ready for your taxes, right? You got your taxes paid? Yeah, but I got an email from my accountant. She said, I'll have this for you this afternoon or tomorrow. And I'm like, well, you don't have all the information. We haven't. So I don't know what my accountant is doing, but nevertheless, I'm sure there's an extension in my future and probably a check. And we'll work on that. It's that dreaded day when I'm waiting to hear on the deadline from my accountant that what do we have to do today if we're going to do the extension. But I've been so busy traveling that I have promised, but it's not my accountant's fault. I've told my accountants before. I said, listen, I'll get you all the information you need. They want some things. And I've been traveling so much the last few weeks, as many of you might have noticed with the show, that I have not gotten my tax accounting all to the accountant. So I got to work on that today, but happy tax day in America. Some of you, we just try to make the best of it, right? We just try to make the best of it. It is a day to remember that if the Republicans don't do what they're supposed to do, the Trump tax cuts will expire this year. That's what the Democrats want. They want them to go bye-bye, and they want that would be then the largest tax increase in American history. So make sure you call your member of Congress if you think you're paying too much in taxes. Make sure they codify and stop putting sunset on tax cuts. Always know politicians always put tax sunsets and expiration dates on tax cuts, but they never put expiration dates on spending. And that's one of the problems of our government and one of the dysfunctions in Washington, D.C. We've got some news. I want to kind of take you back on memory lane. I was talking to producer Chad before the program started. 5 years ago today, do you remember where you were at? You were probably being locked down into your home, cursed at if you didn't wear a mask on the way to a restaurant that they were Dare to Survive, and 6 feet of separation. What's that number they made up? 6 feet of separation, social distancing, all of the lies they were telling you. And I think 5 years after the fact and 10 years after the fact, we need to remember who the biggest liars of them all were. Jared Polis in the state of Colorado, one of the biggest liars when it became a COVID tyranny. Gretchen Whitmer, one of the biggest liars, governor of Michigan, who had to hide her face in shame because she was daring to ask President Trump to do tariffs. She was trying to help her people, and she was ashamed. She should be ashamed that she's how she treated the people of Michigan. Gavin Newsom, tyrant out there in the era of the COVID virus, the booger cootie virus, as we like to call it. So the next couple of days, I've told producer Chad, I said, I want to keep my eye open for things that just remind you of the lies that you were told. You were told a hell of a lot of lies, and these people should never, ever, ever be forgotten for the lies and the damage that they did for you. I can think of times now that my son is off to college, and I can think of all the lies that they were told in school, and being told to lock down in their house and learn on an iPad and all the things that they told. And the education in many states, including Colorado, has never improved, has never gone back to normal. And it's all thanks to the lying sacks of Jawea like Jared Polis that did that. Stay at home. Remember, that was a lie. Again, let me just digress. Let me just walk you down memory lane. 5 years ago, I don't want you to forget this is tax day. You have enough reason to be angstful, but today I'm going to make you extra angstful. We're in this together. That was a lie. 2 weeks to slow the spread. Remember that one? 2 weeks. Yeah, that was a lie. Mike Pence helped that one. Mask help prevent the spread. That was a lie. By the way, I was flying home yesterday, and I watched people getting on the flight back to Colorado. I was in Missouri at the St. Louis airport, and I saw like 5 people with masks on. And somebody help me explain this. They were all women, and they all looked like they probably burned Teslas. They were all not all together. It wasn't a group. They all looked like they might. It all looked like they might drive Subaru Outbacks. You understand what I'm saying? That I'm trying to. It was just maybe it's a quinky dink, as you say, or coincidence, but it was just interesting. The 5 people coming down, staggering down through the aisle, loading up the plane with their mask on. They looked like they probably could all go burn a Tesla today. So I don't. It's one of those games of tell me you're a libtard without telling me you're a libtard. Boom, there you have it. Let's see, what else was a lie? Super spreader events was a lie. What church has a super spreader event? The vaccine is the dead end of COVID. That was a lie. You're not going to get it if you have that vax. No, that was a lie. Breakthrough cases are rare. That was a lie. The shot is 100% effective. That was a lie. Only 2 shots to get your life back. That was a lie. You just need to get the 3rd one now. Oh, that was a lie. Well, the 4th one, that was a lie. They just, the lies they told you, and they keep telling you all these lies. And my friends, never let them forget the lies that they tell, and never fail to call them out as liars. If there's anything that you should call Gretchen Whitmer, Jared Polis, Gavin Newsom out, not just for being feckless failures as governors, but you should call them out for being liars and destroying the lives of children, education, all because of their tyrannical behavior. Let me just play. I got some other news I want to get to, but I figure you're already pissed off enough about tax day. So I want to get you extra pissed off that not only is the government taking your money today, not only are they making you write that check, and maybe they're reminding you of how much they take out of your paycheck. The government uses that money to fund a bunch of crap like lies told to you that destroyed people's lives. Let grandma die alone. That's what they did. Jared Polis let your grandmother die alone. He didn't give a rat's ass about your grandmother. Gavin Newsom, he did it all for the sake of public safety. Listen, these people take your taxes and they lie to you. Is there any question as to whether or not we should be pissed off on this tax day in America? Let me play this one. Anybody remember this little criminal? The little effer, the criminal, Dr. Fauci? These are his lies. He continues to say lies. He told so many lies during the booger cootie virus breakout that he had to get pardoned. And he had to accept the pardon because according to law, that if you accept a pardon, you are admitting the guilt of your pardon. Even though they say, well, this is not an admission of guilt. No, by accepting a pardon by law, it is an admission of guilt. And the little effer is a criminal. Here we go.
If you're vaccinated, you don't have a risk. And that's the reason why we say it's as simple as black and white. You're
Liar.
vaccinated, you're safe.
Liar.
You're unvaccinated, you're at risk. Simple as that.
Liar.
I mean, I got infected about 2 weeks ago.
Liar.
It was my third infection.
Criminal.
And I had been vaccinated and boosted a total of 6 times.
So you get the idea. That could go on and on. So I just want to remind you on tax day, as you recognize that taxes are due and your money is there, and maybe you thought you were going to get it. Oh, Rachel's upset. I knew I was going to get it. Jimmy, I drive a Subaru and I'm a strong conservative Christian. Well, evidently your car has not found Jesus. I believe you, Rachel. I really do. Oh, by the way, see, I'm the boss of the broadcast today, right there. So your car has not found Jesus. Bow your head, Subaru. Close your eyes. Turn off your lights, and let's see if we raise your hand up. No, Subarus, I'm sure, are fantastic cars. But if liberals didn't drive them, very few people would, because it just, yeah. But Rachel doesn't wear a mask in her Subaru, does she? I saw the photo of Rachel. She doesn't look like she could bomb a Tesla dealership tomorrow. Good for her. All right. Your car has not found Jesus. I thought that was kind of funny. Oh, by the way, we got a question of the day. Stand by for that. You got to love this question of the day. Remember, I just kind of pissed you off about the COVID and the tax day. I'm doing that on purpose to let you realize your angst is real. Your angst is real. But anybody see this Pam Bondi interview last night? She was on, I think, Jesse Waters, and they showed this one of these Tesla criminals, this Tesla terrorist, domestic terrorist, and Pam Bondi. This was a dude. I mean, this guy looked like he was a dude, but he had his lipstick on, and they discussed actually the shade of his lipstick. It was on the Jesse Waters show last night, and I thought it was funny. But boy, you better not be bombing those Teslas anymore, you freaking libs. Because guess what? Pam Bondi says she has instructed federal prosecutors there will be no plea bargains issued. There will be no plea deals. They're going for the max. This dude with lipstick is going away, and he's going to have a great time in prison with that lipstick. Whew, I wouldn't want to be him in certain play. He's going away for, you ready for how long? 40 years. She said, no compromise, 40 years, you're going bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, I found this one here, and I want to play this. This is probably what some of these, this is what the Tesla terrorists probably look like after the 9 to 5 protesting in front of a Tesla dealership because George Soros is paying him $20 an hour. Here's what they do at the end of the day. Look at him. Yeah, he's starting to feel pretty. Putting on the lipstick. It's Don Knotts. Oh, lay back and enjoy. The Elvis guy wants a cigarette after that. He's ready for a smoke, I'm telling you. I'm sorry if you're only watching the podcast. This is there's a music bed, but we can't play. We don't have the copyright to it, but I'll play this again. There he is. I've been protesting, burning Tesla since 9 o'clock this morning. I've had a bubble bath and a glass of wine, and oh, I feel so pretty. Tell me you're a Democrat without telling me you're a Democrat. Tell me you vote for George for George Soros type candidates like Gavin Newsom and Jared Polis without telling me that you vote for those people. All right, there's some real stories out there. The tax days is here. Now let me cheer you up. Now that I've amply pissed you off, I want to give you some good news. There are some places that have tax day deals. You ready for the tax day deals out there? Tax day in America. Bunch of national chains are taking the sting away. Krispy Kreme, if you got one near you, they're offering a buy one, get one deal. Buy a dozen donuts, you'll pay only the sales tax for the second dozen of their original glazed. Buy one, get one. You buy a whole dozen, you just pay the sales tax on the second one. Burger King, they have a 1 cent cheeseburger. Now, you have to be a member of their Royal Perks members program and go through their app, but you can get one cheeseburger for 1 penny. There's a trick. If you spend $1. If you have a Shake Shack near you, they have a free black truffle burger with the promo code truffle tax. You have to spend at least $10.40 as in the 1040 tax form. But Shake Shack's got some deals for you. 7-Eleven has a delivery deal. It's called the code write-off. It gets you $10.40, as in 1040, off your delivery through their app if you spend at least $20. So a lot of people driving the apps out there. Hooters, if their Hooters are still open near you, Hooters has a discount on appetizers. You got to, again, go through the app. It's April the 15th, so you can get one appetizer for $4.15. One appetizer for $4.15. Potbelly, They have a buy one, get one sandwich deal. If you use the promo code BOGO, B-O-G-O, buy one original sandwich, you get a second sandwich free. If you're a California Pizza Kitchen person, they're going to give you a reward today of $10 off delivery or takeout if you spend at least $40 for tax days, as in 1040. Everybody's doing the play on the 1040. BJ's Restaurant and Brew House has a similar code with 10 off 40. Smoothie King, if you have one of those, they're taking $3 off a $15 purchase, $4 if you spend $20. So there's some bargains to be had on tax day in America. Now, one more little quick trend on tax day. I will get to this one here. I just thought it'd be kind of interesting for you. Is tax day in America, people are searching on the internet. What are the top searches for today? It's not Pornhub. Today, people are not looking for that. They're looking for something else. And here we go. By the way, if you're listening in another state, and I'm freaking you out on taxes, about 12 states have been hit by natural disasters in the last 12 months. You get extra time. Everybody in Alabama, hello, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and both Carolinas, you're getting extra time to pay your taxes. So don't freak out. Say, did we miss it? I thought we had extra time. You do have extra time. The rest of us, we didn't have natural disasters, except taxes themselves are a natural disaster. And so there you have it. The Google searches how to file a tax extension have been skyrocketing over the past week for obvious reasons. The top questions we've been Googling has been, what happens if you file your taxes wrong? The next top Google search has been, what happens if you file your taxes late? And what happens if you never file taxes? Another point on the interweb searches that people are also checking what happens if you never file at all. A Credit Karma poll now finds we're feeling cocky because of budget cuts to the IRS. So 17% of the millennials now say, well, they've cut budgets to the IRS. Maybe I won't file at all because they don't think they'll ever get caught. But experts tell you, and I would advise us to, don't risk it. You're likely just going to end up with penalties and you're going to owe more. You don't want to mess with the IRS. That's probably true in every faction. So don't file your taxes. But people are Googling that. What happens if I don't file at all? Because people say Credit Karma said people are feeling cocky because they think the Doge has doged the IRS and they won't have enough. Let me tell you, they're going to have enough to come get you if they want to. So careful out there. File your taxes. We're also being more reckless with mistakes. 24% said in the poll that they're less worried now about errors on their tax returns. One thing we are worried about is refund. 46% people surveyed think fewer IRS agents might make their refund get delayed. Isn't it amazing? We had years and years and years with the same number of IRS agents. Only under Joe Biden did we add 80,000. Then we decide we're not going to have those 80,000. Oh my God, it's going to slow everything down. We've survived years without those IRS agents. And those IRS agents were not hired to process your refund. Those are done mostly by computers and some human checks. Those people were meant to come knock on your door and bang your door down and make sure you behave in yourself. So anyway, happy tax day in America. Good to have you here. All right. Let me go back and read some of the comments that have been coming in. Rachel, I kind of meant what I said about your car. It's great gas. I drove a hybrid this past week. I was renting one in Missouri, and it was a Toyota hybrid. And you know what the weirdest thing about those things are? It's when you start them, you don't hear, you push the button, you don't hear that. That just really just freaks me out. I'm like, it's going. I think it's going. I couldn't, yeah. It was nice though. Those things, they have a lot of acceleration, 0 to 60 in a very quick time in the school zone. We really zipped it up. It was fun. But I wasn't Tesla, but it was a good drive. I'm like, if this Toyota hybrid that I rented is as good as you think. If the Toyota drives that good, I mean, that Tesla's got to be amazing. So one day, I'm going to have to get myself a Tesla, I think. It's just going to have to happen. It's going to have to be a support of brother Elon. All right, Jim's coming up with his own question of the day in the chat room. Everybody see this? What do you think you run the show? I'm the boss of the broadcast. Don't you see it on my name there? It says boss of the broadcast, Jimmy Lakey. It doesn't say Jim Belker. Yeah, doesn't say you. But he's got a question of the day. We complain about renaming the Gulf of America Mount McKinley, but rejoice when lefties are renaming everything to the 40-letter long native names that no one, even Native Americans, can't pronounce. That's a good point, Jeff. Jim, sorry, their name up. That's a good point. The same people that upset about the Gulf of America Mount McKinley thing. Random sidebar with Jim here, just chasing rabbits in the chat room. This is the left that had us rename high schools in Colorado. We couldn't be the Warriors or the Chiefs anymore because we had to rename it. They didn't mind that, did they? Didn't they? They even dumped money towards making sure you rename thing. These are the companies that made you rename your syrup and your margarine. They made you rename your rice company. They made you rename everything in the grocery store. But for some reason, President Trump wants to call it the Gulf of America. These renamers get all pissed off about it because, again, what do we say? If libtards didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. They wouldn't. What else do we have here? I want to get to. Michael Letts is coming up on the program. Couple of interesting stories. The National Guard going to be deployed to Albuquerque. Hold on to that one. That's going to be exciting. And also, there was a Chinese restaurant owner that has been arrested and deported because evidently he was running he was running the restaurant, but he's been arrested. And we'll talk about that with Michael Letts. That's coming up at the bottom of the hour. Also, going to talk about DEI. I've got the story that President Trump announced yesterday that they're freezing a heck of a lot of money from Harvard. $2.6 billion or something like that. They're freezing it because Harvard will not get rid of their DEI programs, and Harvard will not get rid of their diversity, equity, inclusion, and their anti-Semitism. So Harvard won't do it. The question I have with Harvard is, why are we giving $2 billion of hard-earned money from you and me to Harvard when they have a $53.2 billion endowment of their own? And so that's something to think about. We've joked about with Doge that we found out that, hey, everybody go to work today. We've got some foreskins to get for a circumcision program in Mozambique. Remember that one? We talked about this a lot. Everybody go to work today. We've got to pay the bills so that we can do Sesame Street in Iraq. Everybody go to work today. We've got to do those transgender mouse experiments and wherever we're doing those at. Remember all those things? Well, everybody go to work today because your government has to send about $2.3 to almost, let's say, $2.5 billion a year to Harvard. We'll get into the story. It's really one of those waste of government fraud and abuse, and you want to cut some fraud and abuse. That's definitely abuse to me, that we're sending Harvard money. And how many other these universities are we sending money? And the reason they send them money is because they can then control the teaching. If you send them money, you have to do their curriculum. That's why Hillsdale College, who doesn't advertise on the show, they're welcome to. But that's why Hillsdale says we don't take government money, because they can teach the real American history as opposed to this indoctrination American history. And that's why Harvard's like, yeah, we'll take your $2.3 billion, and we'll teach whatever we're supposed to teach, and we'll be very politically correct. So anyway, we'll talk to Dr. Stanley Ridgely coming up on that program as well. Yesterday I was traveling, and I kept saying, but all this food talk has me hungry. Anybody else get hungry about this time of the morning? Listen to me. I've given the munchies like a nice fine bowl of pot marijuana. Was that what it calls a bowl smoke? Is that what smoke a bowl means? I don't know. I don't do that. Anyway, I made you hungry. Well, all this food, talk about the Krispy Kreme and the Hooters. Producer Chad last night posted up what we call food porn on his social media site, and he had made a fried chicken with homemade white gravy. And he was telling me about it after I'd seen it on the social media site, his personal page, and he told me about it, and it made me very hungry for a fried chicken or a chicken fried steak. Now, I have no qualm with either one. If it's chicken fried, baby, chicken fried and double wide, baby. I grew up in the South, and I'm proud of it. But I'm telling you, it's got me what we would call a hankering for a chicken fried steak. And so we started looking around for the best chicken fried steak. And I was like, I growing up in Texas, it's hard to find. It's just hard to find. There's certain foods you don't want to find. I'm sure you can find better cheese curds in Wisconsin than you can find in, let's say, Arizona. I'm guessing that's the case. You may have a rare exception. So I have a question for all of you. We have a national audience throughout the day. If you're listening on the podcast, send me an email, info@jimmylakey.com. Who has the best chicken fried steak or chicken in America? Now, if you're in Colorado, I'd love to have what makes it the best. Tell me about it. Describe it to me. I might get sweaty. I might stumble in my walk with the Lord when I think about it. Whew, I'm just thinking about that gravy right now. It makes me, it's getting hot in here. Somebody turn up the air conditioning here in the studio. It's very nice. Anyway, who's got the best chicken fried product out there? And grew up in the South, you always had a diner. Somebody called you Sugar and Honey. The waitress might have a cigarette, and she'd be offering you a chicken fried steak. You want extra gravy, baby? What don't you want? That kind of thing. You got that, but you don't get a lot of that where I live in Colorado. and sometimes the chicken fried steaks feels like they went down to like the Sam's Club, and they bought the prepackaged, pre-fried, and they dumped them in, and that was what they call chicken fried steak. That works in a pinch. That works. But anyway, if somebody could help me out here with the question of the day, the real question of the day, not the one that Jim's hijacking out there, but the real question of the day: who makes the very best chicken fried steak? Give me restaurants. Give me the diner. Give me the place near you. Give me the place in any state. Tell me the state. Tell me the name of it, and don't lecture me on health, and don't lecture me on it's bad for you. Just give me the damn answer. Who makes the best chicken fried steak in America? So I would love to. I'd love to hear from that. I'd love to hear from you on that. The best chicken fried in America. Anything, chicken fried steak or chicken fried chicken. Let me know, because I could do some food tourism. You hear medical tourism. I could do food tourism because I need to lose some weight, but occasionally I need a cheat day. And because I need a cheat day, I'm going to cheat by traveling and eating chicken fried steak. There's your question of the day. And I'm waiting for those answers. I'm not talking till I get answers on this, because I'm now hungry for chicken fried steak. It's tax day. I got to get a reward somewhere. I need some chicken fried steak, some white gravy, mashed potatoes, some corn. The vegetables don't matter at that point. They get mixed into the mashed potatoes, and the mashed potatoes are just a delivery device for whatever gets stuck in there. Oh, but a good chicken fried steak. Oh my goodness. Anyway, welcome. You can tell who the Southern guy is here. No Southern. I'm looking at the chat room, and no Southerners are talking about their chicken fried steak favorites. So shame on all of you, and all of you trying to act all healthy like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is your uncle or something, and you know that you like it. Maybe not as much as I do, but don't. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not going to come after you for telling me. And it's even better if that steak was fried. Chicken fried steak was fried in beef tallow. See, I'm very make America healthy again. Make America healthy again. Make chicken fried steak healthy again. See, what are you? Rachel's driving the car. Don't leave out the pork tenderloin sandwiches. Rachel, did I ask you what your favorite dish was? This is my food porn, okay? Okay. Don't leave out the roast beef sandwiches either. Okay, I won't. The pork tenderloin sandwiches. Jim says, I was answering your question of say you are a dim without telling me you're dim. Oh, yeah. Say you're a dim without telling me you're dim. That's what he was doing with that long answer about the Gulf of America. Jim, it was a good standalone point. I pontificated off of it. But I appreciate you now putting it in context. And Jim, you keep typing long answers like that, we'll have to give you, we'll count as a thesis and give you a doctorate degree. That's just how we roll there. Rachel's now calling out food items here. That's what happens. I ask a specific question, best place for the chicken fried steak or the chicken fried chicken. And now suddenly we're at pork tenderloin sandwiches. It's like this is Mel's Diner or something. Anybody remember the Mel's Diner reference? It's like they are. All right, let's see. What do we have here? We got Michael Lutz coming up here in just a few moments. You don't want to miss that. Anybody remember Janet Yellen? Janet Yellen was one of the top advisors for Barry Hussein Obama and Big Mike in the White House. And then for Joe and Jill Biden, you had Janet Yellen. She's the one that said that inflation was going to be transitory. Anybody remember the transitory stuff? Inflation shall be transitory. It's just going to be transitory. Don't worry about a thing. It's transitory. And it wasn't transitory. It stuck around for a long time. Well, Janet Yellen, for some reason, they put her up on the television show pontificating as if she's some genius of the economy. Obviously, she's not. She couldn't even figure out the topic of inflation. She lied to you all through the early parts of the Joe Biden administration. And she was baffled by these tariffs. And she's baffled by the tariffs, saying, these tariffs are bad. What are we going to do? Become a manufacturing country again? We can't believe it's not going to happen. There's no purpose to these tariffs. Manufacturing is gone. And Barry Hussein Obama believed the same thing about manufacturing being gone. Somebody was on CNN this week and said, what are we going to do? We make our shoes elsewhere. Are we going to become a nation of cobblers? As if we're so good and we're just going to let you people make our stuff. And The problem becomes that when they're making some of your stuff, whether it's your ships or whether it's your pharmaceuticals, if they want to cut down your supply line, they've also cut off your lifeline simultaneously. And you cannot be dependent in some areas. There's some necessities you need to make here. But for some reason, the liberals have gotten to, this is why the working class, the union class, as I heard it said, the people who, I think Charlie Hertz said, the people who shower before work and when they get off work, that's why that group of people, that demographic of blue collars, have left the Democrat Party. The people that shower before they go to work and they have to shower when they get off work, they've left the Democrat Party because their cities, their towns, their communities, their jobs have been destroyed by this mindset of what are we going to become, a nation of cobblers? And Janet Yellen saying, I don't understand the tariffs because manufacturing is not going to come back here. And Barack Obama said manufacturing is not going to come back here. And it won't with these people running the country. And again, it doesn't have to be a sweatshop. It could be the NVIDIAs. NVIDIA has announced they're putting in some plans to build more chips. So it's fascinating times. So I want to take you back in time before the days of Janet Yellen. And before the days of these idiots to say, what are we going to become, a nation of cobblers? And again, this is just explains to you why the blue-collar class, again, those who shower before work and after work, have come back, and now with the Republican Party and Donald Trump. And that's why Gretchen Whitmer, even though she's ashamed of it, knows that she had to get her ass up to the White House, and she covers her face with a folder. And it's actually one of the best times you'll ever see Gretchen Whitmer, when she's covered up with a folder. But I have to tell you that this is why she had to go beg for money, because the people of Michigan have been destroyed because we have killed our manufacturing. And they may take you back in time. This was back in a long time ago. This was when Ross Perot was running for office for president. And he says, if you don't make it, you can't buy it. Meaning one day, if you're not making it and they cut it, you're not going to be able to buy it. Let's go to the wisdom of Ross Perot. And would you rather believe the wisdom and philosophy on trade and manufacturing of Ross Perot, or would you rather believe Janet Yellen, who said inflation was just transitory under Biden? I'm going to go with Ross Perot. Watch this.
Like anything, cannot buy anything. Never forget that.
That's Ross Perot, American businessman and two-time presidential candidate during his 1993 debate against Al Gore on the controversial trade agreement NAFTA.
This is not good for the people of either country.
The North American Free Trade Agreement aimed to promote trade between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, but Ross Perot saw a more sinister reality. He was quoted saying that if NAFTA is signed, you will hear
A giant sucking sound
of American manufacturing jobs leaving the nation. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 1990, over 900,000 Americans were employed in the apparel manufacturing sector alone. In 2000, that number had been reduced to 480,000, and in 2011, only 150,000, an 83% decrease over only a 20-year period.
Right here, this flag, right here, it says this, the flag of the United States of America. This is to certify that the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol on April 12, 1996. This flag was flown in memory of the thousands of apparel employees who have lost their jobs because of NAFTA, and the thousands who will lose their jobs because of GATT.
There you have it. Again, just think of that. The 90s, us Gen Xers were out and about in the 90s, maybe heading off to college at that time. And at that point, we had almost 1 million jobs in the apparel industry alone. And now we're down to less than 100,000. So that was a giant sucking sound that Ross Perot was talking about in our early days as a Gen Xer. And finally, you got Donald Trump stepping up to the plate and saying the giant sucking sound must stop. I'm going to go to Michael Letts here in just a second. But again, the question of the day is the very best chicken fried steak or chicken fried chicken in America. Rachel jumps in here. It's the best place I know to get a chicken fried steak is at the Redwoods in Anita, Iowa. Redwoods, okay, make a duly noted Redwoods in Anita Island, Iowa, not for Redwood, Anita. Okay, Jim says this best chicken fried steak is at the Flying J truck stop in Rock Springs, Wyoming. It comes out on its own plate and tastes great. We may stop the show early, producer Chad, and haul our asses up to Wyoming. That's not far from us. Iowa take a little while. I have to jet there, but I'm hungry right now. I'm telling you, slather me up some gravy and bring me a biscuit and a chicken fried steak. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Law enforcement expert. His name is Mr. Michael Letts, longtime friend of the show. Always a pleasure to have him on here. Michael Letts, how are you, sir?
Doing great, Jimmy. I'm doing even better now that I think I'm going to pick you up for some chicken fried steak on the way.
Oh, you got to have some chicken fried steak. You're a Southern boy like myself. You got to know a place or two.
Oh, yeah. I've got plenty down here, but I'm anxious to try the ones you're talking about now. I'll fly across the country just for that.
Just for chicken fried steak. Listen, I told people, you've heard of medical tourism. I'm about to start doing food tourism, and we keep up this chicken fried steak talk because if it's good, it's good, and if it's not good, it's average, but it's still edible. But anyway, Michael, good to have you here on the show. A couple of topics I want to hit with you here is first of all, it's not even on my show prep sheet to talk to you about this, but I saw Pam Bondi on television last night with Jesse Waters, and she was talking about this latest lipstick wearing dude that's a Tesla terrorist. And she says she's instructed her prosecutors, make no deals. We will make no deals. Go for the max, 40 years, bye-bye. We will not compromise at all. Evidently, the left hasn't gotten the word that it's probably a bad idea to keep attacking Tesla and doing domestic terrorism. They hadn't figured that one out yet.
Well, you're exactly right, Jimmy. Here's the problem is we thought we were going to be nice and just send a message. We died at the first 11 that, we were not going to be cutting any deals, but you know how that works. Sometimes that's rhetoric. And you would have thought that would have nipped it in the bud. People would begin to have a little bit of common sense and not risk their entire future over something so stupid that's not hurting Elon anyway. But evidently, they're denser than we thought, Jimmy, and they don't seem to understand English. So this time we're going to hold the line. There will be no deals cut, and he is going to be facing a long jail sentence.
Yeah, and I hope they let him take that lipstick to prison because I'm not even going to make that joke there. But anyway, it's
Jimmy, we're making some money on the side. We're already putting up bids as to who wants him first out there in that prison, and the pool is getting pretty high. I'll throw you in there and see if we can make a little extra money on this one.
The prison pool. Which guy's going to get this guy? And
they're all looking for a roommate. They're all looking for a roommate.
Everybody, all of a sudden, they all want roommates. They saw this guy. The lipstick threw it. The lipstick threw it for a loop. 40 years. He's gonna have a lot of roommates in 40 years. I'm guessing.
Oh yeah.
Michael, I see this story about Albuquerque, New Mexico, just down the I-25 from where I'm at, about 5 hours or so, 6 hours, straight down south of Denver, and the National Guard being deployed to Albuquerque. Explain what's happening here.
Well, I think they've lost their mind, Jimmy. Let me tell you why. Now, I'm all in favor of utilizing military assistance on these major criminals, cartels, etc. In fact, we're going to have to because there's so many of them. We don't have enough forces. But here's the problem with New Mexico. It's their policies. Sanctuary, they need to fix their policies first. And to compound their policies where they're walking into real thin ice, deep water here, they're going to put these National Guardsmen on the street unarmed and unprotected. They're going to be having polo shirts. Have you ever heard of such stupidity in all your life, Jimmy? There is a role for using military assets. Of course, if you're going to use them, you have to have the Insurrection Act, or there has to be a specific cause, which they don't have the ability to do. But they're going to bring them in from a military standpoint to try to help patrol the streets and put them at a disadvantage. People are going to get hurt over this one, Jimmy. And the end result's not going to be what they're looking for. It's not going to be pretty.
Let me, this is amazing. National Guard is going to help fight Albuquerque crime, but somewhat if it's necessary. But you said they're going to put them out there, and you're going to be unarmed and don uniform. You don't want to intimidate anybody. But you guys go out there and walk the streets of Albuquerque and try to get our city safe. But it's the disgusting policy of disgusting politicians that are making it unsafe. Now they're going to put law enforcement or National Guard at risk.
You're exactly right, Jimmy. Here's the problem. I know they didn't want me just to tell you what their plan is in terms of the unarmed, et cetera, but that is what they're going to do. And here's what they have issued as their plan. We're going to take tactical teams. Okay, we're talking about law enforcement. We're going to put them in the high crime areas so that we can remove and put all the National Guard on the safe streets and just help them give us backup. Well, I've never heard of a safe street before in my life, Jimmy. I mean, every street has transportation. People come in and out, and bad guys come to safe streets all the time to do great robberies. And sometimes they get a little carried away when they're doing that and kill the people they're trying to rob.
It sounds like people need to pay attention. I used to like Albuquerque. One time I used to sell my cigars on a cigar line. We great shops in Albuquerque, great friends, some good food, great green chili. But there are some parts of it down there that are kind of sketch. I'm reading this story from NBCnews.com. They're talking about Albuquerque, juvenile crime, the flow of fentanyl. Just in an East Central operation in January and February, they had 116 felony arrests just in one little area, 38 misdemeanor arrests, cleared 106 felony warrants there. So the governor there, a Democrat, signed an emergency declaration saying, well, we can't solve crime here, so we're going to have to bring in the National Guard. And I wonder if Michelle Lujan Grisham has any kind of retrospect or navel gazing, going, maybe we have other policies that are enabling this criminal regimen
I
on
doubt it,
our
Jimmy. Just like we
streets.
talked about with the liberals when we first came on, they've gotten so dense. I'm not sure they can understand English or understand anything. Period.
Yeah. It's bizarre. Albuquerque, you could do better. It's a glorious state, and it's a nice state, but it's sad to see this happening in the streets of Albuquerque, that they got to bring the National Guard in because the policies of a city run by leftist policies for so many years. There's another story I want to run by you, Michael. I think it's in New Jersey. A man that's running a Chinese restaurant evidently has been arrested and told to go bye-bye. Help us with this story.
He's an illegal immigrant, and this is what I'm trying to communicate across the country at all the shows we're on. Folks, we have not given Communist Chinese Party its due. They are actively and aggressively trying to subvert and destroy, and they are the insurrectionists, if you want to use that word, to our way of life and America's freedom. They're funding everything from these rallies and these protests that you see, destroying Tesla or just, backing Palestine. It's not just George Soros. We used to think it was just him. No, it's the Communist Chinese Party. Now they are using their illegal immigrants and using them as spies. I told you they have 13 police stations in this country that we're going to be in the process of asking the president to use an executive order to not only shut them down, but any state that tries to oppose that, it's a threat to national security, to make sure it never happens again, to go after those states as well. Because they're actively doing everything they can to destroy us, Jimmy. They one that brought in the Kimmels for fentanyl. They brought it across the borders. They're the one that brought in the epic pandemic, the whole 9 yards. So, quite frankly, we need to take them a lot more seriously than what we are. They're buying up all the property they can for the farmland and the heartlands to be able to control our agriculture, our food supply. They've got, over 100,000 illegal immigrants at military age that have been positioned all across key infrastructure locations in the country. Folks, we got to wake up and take this seriously, or we're going to lose this battle.
I'm sitting here reading this story about his name was Sushi John Ming Zi Zhang, owner of the Yaya Noodles in Montgomery Township, New Jersey. He was arrested March the 24th, so last month, by ICE, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. He was convicted in 2024 of acting as an unregistered agent of the Chinese government, and he was sentenced to 3 years probation. So he is tied to the Chicoms. In May of 2021, he also pleaded guilty to having served as an agent of China in 2016 without notifying the Attorney General. So this 2021, he was pled guilty, convicted again in 2024 for the same crime. But here's what's very interesting. This cat came to America legally back in 2000, but he early on violated the terms of his lawful admission. And so for 24 years, he's been roaming the streets, violating his lawful admission status, and he's been convicted, he's been tried, and yet he's never been removed from the country.
That's part of the policy problems you've been had with the Democrats for years. And quite frankly, I'm tired of hearing all the whiners complaining, oh, don't you deport an illegal? Look at what we've got, Jimmy. And I think it's interesting what you said. I want you to go try to spy for China and see how fast we lock you up for the rest of your life. This person here gets 3 years probation, gets to come out and do it continuously. Come on, we're not serious about protecting the American people if that's what we're going to do. Let's get serious and do what a Constitution requires. That's provide for the common defense of our citizens.
Yeah, same guy, the student at Columbia University gets deported. A judge says he got deported because he violated the terms of his visa. This cat 20 years ago violated the terms of his visa, and he's still been roaming the streets, goes to court, and the judge says, hey, you just get probation. Well, what? He's here illegally now. You've revoked his legal status, but they let him stay here, and he's opening businesses and doing his own thing. So good for him. Adios, sir. Adios, amigo. Whatever you say in China. I hope you enjoy your stay, because you can't come into our country and do that kind of thing and spy on. Just an amazing policy. Amazing policy. 24 years he's roaming the streets.
It just goes to show, Jimmy, what we just talked about. It's time we get serious and quit fooling ourselves on how desperate the Chinese are to infiltrate us and how long they've been doing it. You know, we've been using their economy. They've been providing little cheap parts. You know, you can get everything cheaper when it says made in China. We've kind of become reliant on that, and our government has done the same. We'll look the other way when communist China is trying to subvert us, but we'll take a hard line if it's an American. Enough's enough. Yeah. We got to get our priorities back where they need to be, Jimmy.
I'm watching the priorities of the media talking about this guy from Maryland who's an MS-13 gang member who's been found guilty twice, was put in protective custody. Oh, he'll get killed back in his home country. They want him back here. He's back in his homeland. His own president says, I'm not shipping him back, a terrorist. He's in our country now. But the media is so blatant lies about this Sushi John guy. They so blatantly lie about this guy. They kept referring to this cat that is in El Salvador now. A Maryland dad was arrested mistakenly. A Maryland dad. He's not a Maryland dad. He's an El Salvadorian immigrant who's here illegally. That doesn't make him a Maryland dad. Is not the best descriptor for him.
You're exactly right, Jim. I thought it was so well said by the Salvadorian president to put our judicial system in check. He's our citizen. We determine his future, not you. Get your priorities right and butt out. It's basically what they were saying.
Yeah, unbelievable. Well, hopefully the streets are going to get safer again. Not in Albuquerque. Doesn't sound like going to be dangerous out there for a while because of the policies down in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the put out the National Guard, but put them out in polo shirts and don't threaten anyone. So, Michael, if somebody wants to contribute to all the great work you do, investusa.org, investusa.org. You do great work protecting the lives of law enforcement officers that crazy politicians sometimes put in danger, and you do your best. And give a little plug away. What can folks do to help investusa.org?
They go to our website. They can make a contribution. I've asked them to especially not get involved. We've asked our Thin Blue Line to step up to the plate here, get all these terrorists, these drug cartels and all out of this country. They're not willing to go peacefully. I can promise you that. And so where they're asking to put their lives in harm's way, the least we can do is provide the protection so they can see their kids when they come home.
Michael, that's investusa.org, investusa.org. I appreciate it. I got to take a quick break. Got another guest here. But ladies and gentlemen, it's Lakey Unleashed, the House of Lakey. Everybody stand by. Michael, God bless you. We'll talk soon. I owe you and you owe me a chicken fried steak. It's chicken fried steak day. In my mind, it is. Everybody stand by. Coming back with Dr. Stanley K. Ridgely next. Lakey Unleashed. Stick around.
1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning is on call 24/7, even on weekends and holidays. We pride ourselves in our on-time guarantees. In addition to installation and repairs, we offer maintenance services. So no matter when you need us, you can always count on 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning to keep your system running. Check out our family of brands for all of your service needs, including electrical and plumbing.
1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
Here I am back again in the Unleashed studio, House of Lakey. Don't forget, if you're watching this on the live stream, don't forget this is now also a podcast. Shortly after the program, it'll be uploaded on all the podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Podbean, whatever. I don't even know all the podcast platforms, but wherever you, Apple Podcasts, go subscribe, like, and download. That way, if you ever missed a video episode of this, you can always go back to the platforms you see it. You see it's in the feeds there on Rumble and the feeds on YouTube. You can watch the video, but it's easy to just hear the interviews that we do as a podcast version of that. And also, there's a new interview that just dropped on the podcast as well about a lady who had what we'd call the vaccine injury, and that's not going to get loaded on YouTube because we'll get shut down off YouTube. But if you've angry about the lies you were told during the COVID session of life, please go to my go to the Lakey, Jimmy Lakey Unleashed on all the podcasts and listen to that great interview. We'll play a preview of it tomorrow to tease it, but you can go get it. And again, Patreon has gone. We're not doing the paid wall anymore. Everything's free. And even some of the old interviews from Patreon are now out there. And all of your subscriptions about a week and a half ago, you didn't know it. They were all paused and stopped on the Patreon. So we want you to keep that money, but spread the word, go like and subscribe. And there's a great new interview up at the Patreon, on the podcast site. All right. Good to have you here. Dr. Stanley K. Ridgely, is my guest. He's written a book called DEI Exposed and talks about the American higher education system and how it's we got some real problems. And I wanted to have a jumping on point of this conversation, and I'll bring you up to the news that Trump has paused the Harvard funding. Harvard has said we're not going to get rid of our DEI program, and it's a couple of billion dollars. And I heard that. I said, well, how much? Why are we giving Harvard billions of dollars? Why are people in Alabama, why are people in Colorado going to work today so that they can have money extracted from their paycheck from tax day and send $2.something billion off to Harvard? And then I looked it up and realized that Harvard has a $53.2 billion endowment, which puts it with a higher. It's larger than the annual gross domestic product of at least 100 to 120 countries. Harvard has their endowment that's larger than the GDP of Iceland, Tunisia, Bahrain, Bolivia, Paraguay, Sierra Leone. I mean, the list goes on, and yet we give them $2.something billion a year, and President Trump says enough is enough of that. Let me bring in Dr. Stanley Ridgely to the program. Welcome, Dr. Ridgely. Pleased to have you here, sir.
Well, thanks a lot, Jimmy, and it's great to be on Lakey Unleashed. This is a wonderful day for higher education. This pausing of this $2 billion in funding to Harvard University, ending a period of entitlement, I think, that Harvard has grown used to. And finally, it's time to pay the piper. It's time to pay that bar tab that Harvard has been running up over the years with that $50 billion endowment that is not even taxed. I think that's an important point to make. It's an untaxed endowment. So yeah, it's great to be here, and I look forward to our conversation.
Let me ask you, why is it? What is the motivation? I mean, I'm thinking of the plumbers. I'm thinking of the blue-collar people, as I referred to them earlier, the people that shower before they go to work and after they get off work, because they're working hard. It's tax day in America. We're all reflecting on how much has been yanked out of our check, and are we going to get any of it back, or did we overpay? Did we underpay? All this stuff. And then you realize, wait, Harvard, we're giving Harvard money. We're not. Are we helping the trade school down the street, the community college that most families will never be able to have accessibility financially or academically to Harvard? Why? What's the motivation? Why does our government even give any of these big schools like that have big endowments? Why do they give them money?
Well, they give them money under the cover of research grants, that kind of thing. And a lot of these research grants are done to fund enthusiasms of radical faculty. And I think that the point we need to understand is that this funding is contingent upon obeying American civil rights laws, providing those constitutional protections to the student body, to faculty, to staff. And if Harvard is in violation of those laws, which they have been for quite some time, if you look at the Supreme Court decision 2 years ago that found Harvard guilty of racial discrimination in its admissions process, we find that what's happened is that Hillsdale College, is a small college in Michigan, I believe, has not received or not accepted federal funding to avoid the strings attached that comes with that federal funding. All we're doing right now with Harvard is to say, you know what, you can accept this federal funding or not. It's your choice. But if you do, you have to obey U.S. Civil rights law and constitutional protections for your students, faculty, and staff. And Harvard's decided not to do that. And I think that's a welcome development in the sense that, well, Harvard's taking a stand, and I salute Harvard. And the fact is, you're no longer going to get taxpayer funding for your enthusiasms.
How many other schools out there are still involved in this? Some of the DEI stuff, you hear some of the corporations that have folded those programs under and they've gotten rid of them, but these universities seems a little bit more hell-bent on keeping them. How many other universities out there like Harvard, they can pay their own bills, they're taking government money, but they're still hell-bent on the indoctrination of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Well, you look at there's just a list that was released of 77 schools with these enormous endowments of over several $1 billion that are in violation, presumably, of U.S. civil rights laws. And the U.S. Department of Education, its Office of Civil Rights, are going to investigate these schools, beginning with the Ivy League schools, because they are the most well endowed with these enormous endowments. Even smaller private schools such as Swarthmore, Bryn Mawr, with the multi-billion-dollar endowments, they're under the gun. I don't like to say under the gun. They're under the eye, the spotlight, for investigations to find out, are you doing things the right way? Or are you a victim or a willing participant in ideological capture? That's a term that the U.S. government is using for these institutions. They are victims or participants in ideological capture, which means they are far left. They have no intention of doing anything else. And they are basically renaming their DEI programs, even as we speak, in terms of, oh, well, this is not DEI, this is inclusive excellence. We're going to maintain the same programs here, which are basically attacking students, faculty, and staff ideologically for they're basically the color of their skin. So we have to keep an open eye, and I know that the Department of Education is indeed watching for this type of subterfuge. Don't put anything past these elite colleges and universities.
In your book, and again, if you're listening to the audio portion and not watching the live video stream of this, it's Dr. Stanley K. Ridgely. He's an author of a book called DEI Exposed, How the Biggest Con of the Century Almost Toppled the Higher Education System. Give you a little background on Dr. Ridgely as well. He's a clinical full professor of strategic management at Drexel University, holds a doctorate and master's in international relations and security from Duke, international MBA from Temple. He's a Russian language linguist and a former military intelligence officer. He's also written other books, including Brutal Minds, The Dark World of the Left-Wing Brainwashing in Our Universities. You are in the academic setting. You're in academia all the time. What was it that you saw personally that caused you to write books like Brutal Minds or DEI Exposed? What was your personal experience and or paradigm that caused you to say, I've got to tackle this topic?
Well, the main, I would say, the main motivation was whenever a university president declared that my university was a racist institution, and that we had a lot to account for, a lot of damage to repair, that we were responsible for the kind of racism in America that killed George Floyd, this criminal who was killed in the streets of Minneapolis, that this somehow had something to do with my own university, and that we had to basically repent, seek reparations, to install a bureaucracy that was well paid, lavishly paid, that would train everyone on the campus to repent of your, quote, institutional and personal racism. Well, I found this to be ludicrous. I found this to be risible, and I expected a full refutation from the faculty and some staff, of course, but no, we did not get that. And so I said, someone has got to stand up and say, no, this is, I'm not going to say the word, but this is bull, okay? This is bull. And I think it's obvious to anyone who looks at this from a personal perspective. I'll give you an example of the kind of thing that I'm talking about. One of these purveyors of this type of DEI nonsense was in a public forum with me and several other people, like a lot of other people. And I said, you declared that this university is racist, institutionally racist, personally racist, systemically racist. You, right now, for me and everyone gathered here, you tell me who the people, processes, policies, and procedures that you find racist at this university. Now, Jimmy, do you think I got an answer? No, what I got was an accusation that you are part of the problem. You are part of the problem here at this university, which is what a conspiracy theorist would say. So in other words, if you question a conspiracy, you are labeled as part of that conspiracy. And this is one of the central insights of DEI Exposed, how DEI is basically a product of conspiracy theorizing and a con game. It's an expensive, lucrative con game for these quasi-academic mediocrities with no discernible skill sets that are perpetrating on college campuses nationwide. And that was the motivation for DEI Exposed.
The name of the book again, DEI Exposed by Dr. Stanley K. Ridgely, how the biggest con of the century almost toppled higher education. Two more questions come to mind here. Why is it that some corporations have been so open to let's get rid of the DEI program and stop some of that? Why is it harder to peel out of the university setting?
Well, it's hard to peel out of the university because this is where it started. This is where we opened the gates to all kinds of nonsense and absurdities, the kinds of nonsense and absurdities we expunged from the university over the last 300 years. Alchemy, astrology, pseudoscience, superstition, all of these programs, had a chance to lay out the case for themselves, were found lacking and were expunged. Well, suddenly we've opened the doors to this kind of superstition and mysticism, and I'm not exaggerating here. With DEI Exposed shows all of this. I let the DEI officers, these diversity officers, speak for themselves. The fact is that they are now well entrenched in these bureaucracies. And thank goodness we have an administration and a Department of Education that recognizes this BS for what it is. It's not like the emperor's new clothes. The emperor, but hey, there's no clothes. The emperor's naked. There is no such thing as DEI as it's practiced. Okay, DEI is simply a con game. The psychology has a word for this con game. It's a resource extraction strategy called virtuous victimhood. We're going to play the victim. You're going to play the villain, and you're going to pay us. And we're going to allow you to confess your sins, and for that, you will receive no unrest on your college campus. If you don't do this, well, some demonstrations may come your way.
Wow. The name of the book, DEI Exposed, how the biggest con of the century almost toppled higher education. And saying the title brings me to my final question here, Dr. Stanley K. Ridgely. Why do you say it almost toppled higher education? Are you saying that it's we've turned the corner, it's heading back the other way? Why do you say almost?
Well, it's just like turning an aircraft carrier. The old saying is it takes a couple of miles to turn an aircraft carrier around, but turn it we must. And I think that's what's happening today. We have seen a slow dawning of realization that these lavish bureaucracies populated with mediocrities of people that have virtually no skill sets. People have stepped back and say, you know what, we're spending lots of money on these people, but they're really not doing anything. And I think that this realization and this basically ridicule the universities are receiving, like the University of Michigan, which spent more than $250 million in 9 years on a DEI program, is paying the top DEI honcho $413,000 per year to do the work, which she really couldn't even tell you what it is she did with her days. That this has become so obscene, so obscenely absurd that universities are finally looking for an excuse to get rid of it. Certainly, companies in corporate America is finding a reason to get rid of it. Just anything to say, let's get rid of this albatross and go back to building products, providing services that people want and need, without this kind of albatross on our neck that's costing our money. It's costing lots of money and making our goods and services more expensive than they ought to be.
The voice of Dr. Stanley K. Ridgely. The latest book is called DEI Exposed, How the Biggest Con of the Century Almost Toppled Higher Education. Dr. Ridgely, if somebody wants a copy of the book, or maybe they want to follow some of your work, where do they go? And give you a chance to plug away, sir.
Well, the best way is to go to Amazon.com. Amazon, I've got all four formats: audio, hardbacks, paperback, and Kindle on Amazon. And you can also find me on brutalminds.com, my website. And you can also go to Barnes & Noble and find the book there. Lots and lots of places you can find it. If you want to follow me and connect with me, go to LinkedIn. That's my primary social media platform. I'm also on Twitter as well.
Brutal Minds. I got to check that website out. I'll have you back on for another discussion about that.
I'd love it. Great to be here.
Dr. Stanley K. Ridgely, I appreciate you hopping into the House of Lakey for the Lakey Unleashed Streamcast. And by the way, if you're listening to the podcast later today, some people say, why do you call it Lakey Unleashed? It's because for 20 plus years, I was behind the confines of corporate radio, but I have been unleashed to doing my own thing, and it just sounded good. That's it. If you don't follow us on we just launched the podcast version of this. We've been streaming now for a couple of months now, but now we got the podcast going. Go to all your favorite podcast platforms, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, any of them. Go to all of them and just find the Jimmy Lakey Unleashed. You'll see it there. By the way, big time. This is gonna be exciting right here. Big time, and now we're gonna wrap it up. Ready? You ready for this? Next week, I think next week I'm going to finally have the time that while you're out searching for Lakey podcast, make sure you follow my Critical Mission podcast, because producer Chad and I have some real treats coming your way on the Critical Mission podcast. I'm just teasing it. I haven't had time to get into the studio and do that, which I'm going to do, but I think you're going to be tantalized by it. So prepare your heart. So when you search Jimmy Lakey on all the podcasts, you can, if you see one called The Lakey Effect, that's the old iHeart one, and they're still making money off my name because I made them a lot of money. I think it's still up there. All my old shows are there. But yeah, we made them a lot of money. They're still milking me for all it's worth. They still advertise that I'm on their station. Still do. I'll run promos. I'm on their station. I'm not. I've been unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. Anyway, the new one is called Lakey Unleashed. Go find it out there if you would. And Jimmy Lakey Unleashed, all the platforms, and that's this show and other interviews dropped. There's been another one dropped there as well. All right. Sherry Cree. What else can I tell you about Sherry, except, my friends, that when it comes to real estate, it's I walk down the streets, drive down the street, and people were putting signs up in the yard and out of state, and I saw different signs, and I'm just sitting, and it was just amazing. It ran through my head of you've got a lot of choices when it comes to real estate, and you've got a lot of things you got to think about. Especially in Colorado, you have a market that boomed, a market that surged, then you have a high cost of living, who can live here, who can't. You've got there's a lot of realtors in Colorado. There's a number of them. I mean, there's just like a lot of them. If you look up the stats, it's a lot of people got in the real estate business. A lot of people have business cards, and a lot of people say they help you. But I'm going to tell you, be very wary about just because you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. You've got to have that realtor in your corner that has the experience, the references, the recommendation, the longevity, and just the ability to get things done. It can be a very complicated market. There's a lot of complications, and maybe run into that. Maybe end up with a distressed property you're trying to buy. There's a lot of caveats and the things that can change there. You need to have somebody that has that experience to handle it. And I want to recommend Sherry Cree to you. Homeswithsherry.com is her website. Anywhere from that I-25 corridor in Colorado, you owe it to at least to have a conversation with her. Now, she came on the program. I'll have her back on next week. She came on the show before. She said not everybody's a match. She doesn't match with everyone. They don't match with her, and that's fine. But you owe it to your at least to have a conversation, because she sets that with all those conversations. If you're going to join, and she's going to help you buy or sell, do a real estate transaction. She goes into it wanting to be your realtor for life. She's not wanting to just do, one thing, so talk to you later, have a great life. No, she wants you to call her in a year or so. Maybe you're not even ready to do real estate for a year or so, but you want to kind of have some advice moving forward. Homeswithsherry.com. If you've studied the ninja sales tactics about connection and involvement, I guarantee you'll find that in a real estate line with Sherry Cree. And by the way, if you're a first responder, military, veteran, she gives a donation back of her proceedings back to the charity of your choice. She's just so generous in all that she does. And I just you got to meet her. She's a great person, a great heart, and a great ninja skills when it comes to real estate. Homeswithsherry.com. You owe it to yourself to have a conversation and start talking about it. And whether you're in Wellington or Windsor or Fort Collins or Greeley or Loveland, how about you in Broomfield, Colorado, Westminster? Hey, Westminster, how are you? Thornton, Colorado. We haven't shouted out to Thornton in a while. Aurora Parker, you get the idea. Denver, yeah, she can help you in Denver. Lakewood, she can help you there. It's not called Lakey Wood. I know people think they named it after me. It's called Lakewood. So just in Littleton, she can help you as well. Homeswithsherry.com, all down the I-25 corridor. She's the one. Homeswithsherry.com. You owe it to yourself. And she wants to become your realtor for life. That's what she sets out to do, and that's how she wants to serve you and your real estate needs. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we've about wrapped up. Tomorrow, I got to get into this thing of real IDs at the airport. I saw about earlier, and signs everywhere. You got to have your real ID. So the administration has set a deadline that you have to have a real ID, which is kind of an updated format of a driver's license, by early May. And people are freaking out that there's going to be lines at the DMV. States have had 20-something years to ramp up for this. And they keep pushing it back because we have idiots running Washington. And now the Trump administration says, we've had 20 years, states. Come on. Colorado is one of the states that had a tough time with their real ID for a while. because we're run by idiots here as well. Anyway, we'll talk about Real ID tomorrow. It's just a fascinating topic that some people are. It's a deadline gets closer. This is going to be the big news story of the day of how Trump's making everybody getting a new ID. It's been 20 years. Every state in the nation has had. This came out of the 9/11 Commission. I mean, this is crazy. And watch it. This is going to be a new story that's going to be, as it gets closer and closer, they're going to say it's crisis in America because people have to have a new ID. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a segment we call Meme Roulette. I know those who listen to the stream podcast later in the day, I'll try to explain the visuals we're about to see on the screen. If you're watching, turn your eye towards the television screen, and let's do this. We do it every week. We go round and round. I got to get the right screen, though, for myself. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Producer Chad puts it up. Today, 3 years old, can switch on laptops and open their favorite apps. Me? When I was 3, I ate mud. And our immune systems were higher as well. And we didn't have some of these diseases these other kids have. There you have it. Cute kid. Is that you, Producer Chad? Here we go. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. There's an alien there when someone calls your name right after you just sat down. That's the face you make. Yep, that's the face you make. Round and round the world we go. We sold it from a website called 30 and Tired. You get the idea there. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. This is so true. Anybody remember Elian? Is it Elian Gomez, I believe? Bill Clinton and Janet Reno busted in and took the scared kid out with a machine gun. Remember when Bill Clinton and Janet Reno sent men with automatic weapons to kick a child refugee out of America? And the Democrats cheered. Yeah, just let that sink in, you Democrats. You used to cheer for this kind of stuff right here. We're sending out MS-13 gang members and you're crying like sissy boys. You guys cheered when Elian Gonzalez is his name. Elian Gonzalez got booted out of the country. Yep, that's the Democrat Party. They don't mind. Democrats don't have a lot of respect for kids. I mean, hell, they'll abort them. They sure as hell don't mind kicking them out of the country. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Let me do my best Forrest Gump imitation, as Tom Hanks sits on the bench. And just like that, people with severe mental problems forgot about climate change and started attacking electric cars. That's not bad. I didn't practice at all. And just like that, I'm going to do that all day. Yeah, that's true. The severe mental problem crowd started thinking about climate change and and they started attacking cars. Yeah. I'm thinking of those ladies getting on the plane yesterday that tell me you're a Democrat without telling me you're a Democrat. They had those masks, man. They had like strapped on there. Not the only thing they've ever strapped on. Here we go. Round and around the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. All right, you libs out there, here's what you got to pay attention to. Before you go burn down the Tesla dealership as part of the Democrat Party platform, you used to burn crosses, now you burn Teslas. Elon Musk only owns 12.8% of Tesla. So, dear liberals, the other 87.2% of Tesla is owned by companies that fund your 401ks. So before you libs out there go burn down the modern day cross of the Tesla. They used to burn crosses in lawns. Now you burn Teslas in dealerships. Before you go do that, just remember he only owns 12.8% of Tesla. Round and around the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Them. It's been called the Gulf of Mexico for almost 400 years. And me, I say, well, they've been called men for over 2,000 years, but you were okay with changing that. Let that one sink in. Them, the liberals, it's been called the Gulf of Mexico for almost 400 years. Snivel. Yeah, but they've also been called men for over 2,000 years, but you were okay with that one. Round and round the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. I think we have one. We've milked the meme machine dry, ladies and gentlemen. Like teats on a bowl, there's nothing there. So, where do I come up with this stuff? Some of you wondered the same thing. Jimmy, with Democrats burning cars, they got us Republicans to buy Tesla. This is true. I never wanted a Tesla. I wouldn't mind a hybrid, especially if it was a hybrid. I know they're all electric. That's the point. But as the boss of the broadcast, as it pops up on the screen, I have to say that I would not mind a Tesla. I'm still afraid they're going to catch on fire. Oh, chicken. Let's do a couple more of these chicken fried steak, because that was the question of the day. Keep your recommendations. Kathy evidently knows every chicken fried steak in Estes Park, Colorado. Chicken fried steak dinner at the Bighorn Restaurant in Estes Park. I saw that one from Kathy. Embers in Estes Park also has a good chicken fried chicken dinner with a view of the lake. Notch Top in Estes Park has a good chicken fried steak breakfast. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want the dining scene of Estes Park, Colorado, the gateway to the Rocky Mountain National Park, you better call Kathy. She is a connoisseur of chicken fried steak. Although producer Chad and I need to test it and find out how good she is at her chicken fried steak placement. Ladies and gentlemen, May the 17th, it's coming up May 17th at 7 p.m. It's our casino night gala. Budget Home Supply presents our Budget Home Supply in Longmont. Great people there for your spring home projects you're doing. Check out Budget Home Supply in Longmont, family owned and operated for many, many years. And they're the title sponsor at our casino gala. You need to get registered soon. We hope it fills up. We expect it to, but also you need to know the price is going to go up. So you can save some money. Register now. Tickets available now, riverspromise.org. It's a fun night. No, it's not real gambling. You're not laying money on the table. It's educational. You'll get some chips and things, and they'll teach you. If you ever want to play craps, they'll teach you how to play craps. The dealers there. Live music is going to be phenomenal. Derek Evilsizer is probably the best young Sinatra you've ever seen, and he's been at our events before, and he's going to be there. It's going to be great. There's a bar there. You can buy your drinks, or food is included at the gala. And also, when you register, you'll also get a link out if you want to stay at the Omni Interlaken Resort and Hotel in Broomfield, Colorado for a couple of days or one night, whatever, and not drive home after it. You're welcome to do that. We got discounts for you. Budget Home Supply, Rivers Promise, Casino Gala, May 17th, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. Tomorrow, I want to give a shout out to a couple of you. I think at least one person, I got to look it over, sponsored a child during the program yesterday through our sponsorship program. And if you'd like to help children, you can sponsor a child at riverspromise.org. It's about $65 a month. Just give generally if you want. $65 a month. We'll send any kid to school. We got lots of kids in school. They don't have sponsors. $65 if you want. We'll connect you with a kid that needs a sponsor. If you want us to do the choosing for you, or you can just do $65 general, we'll pay it. $30 doesn't provide the education, but it does provide food, and we still have a food shortage. Price of food has once again gone up, and Rwanda has had a conversation with my guys the last 2 days, and so it puts Lakey under a lot of stress, but that's okay. The good Lord always provides for us, and we feed him good, and yeah, we feed them good, and we do our best. And you can help us. Riverspromise.org. Make a donation. $30 buys up 2 meals a day for 1 month for a child. And we love your help. All right, riverspromise.org. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to wrap this broadcast up. As the boss of the broadcast, I get to decide when we're done. And if I go too long, producer Chad just walks out in protest and flips me the middle finger. He might. You never know. We're not union around here. We just do what we want. A lot of recommendations on the chicken fried steak. The Flying J truck stop in Rock Springs, Wyoming. Dear Lord, a lot though. There's nobody close to me that has a good chicken fried steak. I was hoping to grab one here before my next meeting. Don't think it's possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean this. I'll see you tomorrow. riverspromise.org. Go find the podcast, Jimmy Lakey Unleashed, on the podcast platforms. Until we see each other tomorrow, may God bless you. May God bless America. I'm Jimmy Lakey, and peace. I am out of